everyone, and welcome to our webinar on streamlining your AutoCAD management with Autodesk Construction Cloud. Before we get started, just some housekeeping. Mics are muted to reduce background noise. If your mic is on, please mute it. If you have any questions, feel free to jump into the chat and let us know. And lastly, this webinar is being recorded and will be sent out. You can also find it on our Modern Art Design Center's YouTube channel. So on the agenda today, we're going to look at AutoCAD and Autodesk Build. Why add Autodesk Build to our AutoCAD workflow? And then I'm going to do a demonstration on how Autodesk Build integrates with AutoCAD and show off some of its features. And lastly, we'll look at any questions you guys might have. So a quick introduction. Hi everyone, my name is Sean Solomon and I'm an applications engineer here at Modena. My time working in the built environment has taught me that the best solutions are fast, simple, and practical. So I'm always looking to try and find workflows that make that possible. And that's why I'm excited to talk to you guys about AutoCAD and Autodesk Construction Cloud. I wanted to start us off with talking a bit about AutoCAD and its history. AutoCAD is a CAD software that's been around for 40 years now, with AutoCAD version 1 being released all the way back in 1982. AutoCAD is considered the first CAD system developed for PCs. With the release of AutoCAD 2023 this year, Autodesk has released 37 official versions of AutoCAD to date. At this point, it's safe to say if you haven't gotten your chance to work on AutoCAD, your time will definitely come. It's good to know how long AutoCAD has been around, but what does it do for us now? Well, AutoCAD allows users to draft and design in both a 2D and 3D space. We can create schedules, place drawings on sheets, and export that data out for use on site or to share with consultants or clients. With AutoCAD existing for as long as it has, it's gone through many changes and updates for the better, but this doesn't mean we don't still come across new problems. Every new project comes with its own administrative challenges. Although AutoCAD is a powerful tool for design and detailing, it can't help but create more admin to manage once those amazing drawings need to be exported and shared. Keeping track of the shared data becomes even more of a challenge when a project kicks off and we're looking at coordinating with other consultants or starting the construction process. The problems start to pile up from there. Issuing drawings and information out, keeping track of the latest versions and revisions, knowing who's been issued what. Communicating challenges and updates becomes harder. The chances of the latest information not being received increases, or even worse, work progress from outdated drawings. So how does Autodesk Construction Cloud help us with any of this? Well, first off, Autodesk Construction Cloud helps us create a single source of truth. If you're curious about this term, I implore you to check out our YouTube channel, where my colleagues have previously talked about collaborating in the cloud and united teams with ACC. But to quickly loop you in, the single source of truth means that with Autodesk Construction Cloud, we can create a single location for all our relevant data. We can share that data securely in its native format. No longer do we need to export or print PDFs for comments or feedback. We can track our files revisions by its latest version. New versions automatically replace old files. No need to rename your files with the date or revisions every time you've updated your drawings. Autodesk Build tracks the version of your files for you and allows you to view previous versions without losing any of the new additions you've added on. Shared data can be accessed from any device using a web browser. No need to wait for that PC to boot up when you're back from site. And the best part, unlimited cloud storage. No more file management or deleting and archiving just to save your new drawings. With Autodesk Build, you can save as many files as you want at any size. So feel free to hit that save button every time you need to take a sip of coffee. These are just some of the functionality we get when integrating Autodesk Build with our AutoCAD. Now that Autodesk Build has solved all your file management needs, I just want to say it's not just a document management system. It's a project communication tool that connects stakeholders across a project's lifecycle. This means that Autodesk Build helps connect teams, their workflows, and their data. This streamlines workflows and improves transparency for better collaboration. So now that I've shown you a little bit of what Autodesk Build can do, let's look at AutoCAD and how ACC actually works together. So I'm going to take some time to show what we can do by extending our workflows from AutoCAD onto Autodesk Build. And although we've kind of touched on how to do our file setup and management, we're looking at extended workflows that are kind of based around communication. So before we look at AutoCAD itself and how it connects to Autodesk Build and the cloud, let me give you a bit of an overview of what we're looking at. So this is the cloud-based interface of Autodesk Build. And by looking at these folders, we kind of start to feel like this is File Explorer, but in the cloud. We've got our folders, we've got our subfolders, and we've got our data within them. And this is a project that was set up for the purposes of a demo and to show off in like webinars like these. But the idea is that the more you populate these folders and the more you like the structure, you can apply this to future projects. So think of this as becoming the base template for all your future projects. But again, look, not all projects are the same, meaning that we'll need different templates for different types of projects, from residential to commercial to maybe healthcare. And Autodesk Build allows us to preset these templates and just apply them as soon as our project starts. So if we take a look in this folder that we have, the first thing you'll notice is that we don't just have DWG file formats. We have a few other different versions, or actually formats. And later on, I'll just touch a bit on how you can actually still view these different formats within this browser. But what's nice to know is that all of these other formats can be integrated, can be collaborated, and can be worked on. So we've got this cloud-based environment, and we can start setting permissions on our folders. So we have all these users around the project, and what we can do is when we add a user, we can set a role and a permission level. So why this is very useful is that often in projects you're collaborating and you have consultants from different companies, and you'd want to allow them certain access to your information, but without allowing them to maybe edit or modify it. So when we look at the permission levels, we have view all the way to manage. If we look at the very first option, just view, you see that it doesn't allow the option to download. And this means that the Autodesk Build needs to allow us to actually view these different type of formats. And this is big because this means that Autodesk Build supports many other formats and not just Autodesk related products. We have a folder structure set up, so let's look at how we actually connect AutoCAD to Autodesk Build. And it's really quite simple. We can do this through the desktop connector, and that's really all we need. The desktop connector is actually a free download, so just by searching it, it's the first link on Google. So the desktop connector really is just a syncing folder, and if we look within it, we have all our projects that we've been added to. These are the exact same projects that we have. This really shows the integration of the desktop connector with Autodesk Build. And the fact that it connects to our File Explorer system shows that we can really actually upload any file format onto here. I've saved the Excel file onto this folder, and if we go back to Autodesk Build, we can go within our folders and open it up, and we can actually view it. We can view up to 16 different engineering and design file types. We can even upload JPEGs and MP4s if we need to. But don't try to upload your movies onto here. I don't think your build manager wants to try to figure out which folder to put that in. So we talked about communication between different users and different companies, for example. And for that to be possible, we kind of have to set a standard in terms of our naming conventions. So we can go into our naming standards over here, and we can specify and customize our naming. This means we can start using things like the ISO 19650 to help in the documentation and naming of our files. If we set these things up, there'll always be some files that don't actually conform to any of these naming conventions, and we can actually find these in the holding area. That's probably where we're going to find most of those movies that were accidentally uploaded. Now that we know a little bit more about our folders and how we can set up some naming conventions, let's actually look at AutoCAD and see how we can connect that. Looking at AutoCAD, we have our Autodesk docs, and simply we just navigate to where our file is saved and open it. And something interesting to actually look at is when we actually have a DWG open, if we go back to Autodesk Build, we can actually see that that drawing is being locked. And this talks to Autodesk Build's function of allowing us to monitor what's being worked on. So back to AutoCAD now, and we don't really have much to do in this drawing, so I'll just simply save it, and something we'll see is that now the revision would change, it'll actually move one up. But this is really all it is to working with AutoCAD and Autodesk docs. I mean, we simply just work on AutoCAD as we would usually, and it's just really how we save our drawings that are different. We actually let Autodesk docs do all the heavy lifting in terms of keeping track of our revisions and even who's worked on what. So let's go back to Autodesk Build and let's kind of look at how would we handle changes, revisions, people issuing comments, and how exactly do we get this information? So one way to know if information has been added or drawings have been updated within our own team will be simply to just subscribe to the folder. And by subscribing to a folder, we'll be informed if any changes have been made. Or maybe if we're the ones that made the changes, we can simply share our file in the version that we want our team to see. That way there's no need for us to wait for them to actually find these changes themselves. And another thing is, and this kind of goes back to the whole being able to open multiple file formats, is that we don't actually need AutoCAD to view our DWGs, nor do we need to PDF them. We can simply just open up a drawing in the browser. So when we open up our drawing, we see that we actually have quite a few tools we can play around with, and we can simply mark up drawings and send out comments if we need to. This means that somebody that views our drawings, it doesn't just start and end there. They can actually give us feedback and they can actually help advise us and direct us forward, even though they might not have access to AutoCAD. And also within here, we can also view our different versions and actually compare them. So we can see where our plans started to deviate from how they were before. And when plans start to change, that's when issues arise. And Autodesk Build is excellent at handling these type of issues. You see, simply by placing an issue, we can put a whole lot of detail into what the problem is, how do we think it should be solved, and who should handle these things. Just by looking at this pop-up, it shows us that there's so much of information embedded within Autodesk itself. And this helps mitigate miscommunication and also helps reduce the amount of time required to actually fix simple problems. So what can we do with all this extra time? Well, we can start off by actually viewing a file's activities. And the idea behind this is that this starts to create a clear audit trail of what has been done with our files and who has been doing them. Another thing that we start to notice is that Autodesk Construction Cloud actually allows us to create things in an interconnected way, meaning that we kind of cycle through issues and problems and resolve them and continue this process as we move along in our project. Something that we didn't actually touch on is that Autodesk Build is actually future-proof, meaning that if you start to look at moving from 2D drawings to 3D, so for example, from like AutoCAD to Revit, Autodesk Docs actually covers you with these type of situations. The same kind of functions that we were using before still applies, and we kind of go through the same workflow. So there's no really like reinventing the wheel to try and get projects that are on different softwares to work. So I've actually uploaded a Revit file that we can kind of just take a quick look at. And once we open it up, we kind of see the same thinking that went into the AutoCAD viewer, except this one here has more 3D element based ideas. But we still get kind of those issues. We still have the same thing of setting markups, and we can even like section and cut into our views. That way we can see our model a lot better. So what did we really look at? And well, most of the stuff I showed you is kind of just scratching the surface of what Autodesk Docs and Autodesk Build can actually do for you. I mean, more the idea is to show you how you can start transitioning your drawings from AutoCAD onto Autodesk Docs, and it's really very simple. And then this just kind of like sets you on the right path to like move your project into a new level of control. And this control continues in how we actually use Autodesk Construction Cloud. Because Autodesk Construction Cloud is actually split up into different modules. And these modules kind of have their own role and purpose, and they're focused on certain aspects of your project. For example, we have something that more focuses on the design phase, while we have Autodesk Build that kind of focuses more on the construction areas. When we switch over to Build, we can kind of see these type of elements. So for example, things like your photos, these could be your site photos, RFIs, or requests for informations, transmittals, and all these elements start to interlink and cycle back into the project. So when we start to really think about it, integrating AutoCAD into our Autodesk Construction Cloud really is just a very small part of what Autodesk Construction Cloud can do for you. That being said, here at Moderna, we really want to show you how Autodesk Construction Cloud can help with managing your projects better. So feel free to get in contact with us and we can set up a demo to help you. On that note, we can jump into the last section of our webinar, the Q&A. So take a moment to put in your questions and I'll just give you guys a moment.
Okay, hi guys. So we have our first question from Sibusiso, and he asks, how do I back up files and is this saved on ACC? So it's actually very simple. There's no really a need for a backup when you have different versions. It kind of just saves on top of each another, and accessing those old files is just simply as just clicking and seeing which version you want to go back to. And everything does get stored in ACC, and again, it's unlimited storage, so there's no need to worry about running out of space or having too much of data. It really just cleans itself out for you. Okay, the next question we have here is from Natasha. When is a good time to go onto ACC? Does it have to be before the project starts? So because ACC is split into different modules, there really isn't a bad time to jump on. It's very easy for you to like come in on the design phase and decide, you know what, I need to collaborate with other consultants, and that's a good start. Or you're all the way at construction now, and now you need to start documenting and submitting RFIs, issuing comments, like so on. And yeah, you can see there's really no set time to jump onto ACC. And once you start working on ACC, you start to use that methodology going into new projects, and that this kind of helps things get more faster, more streamlined. Okay, Nathaniel. Any special machine requirements for AutoCAD to ACC? So actually nothing highly spec'd, anything that requires like as Autodesk specs for AutoCAD, that's a sufficient machine. ACC is everything cloud-based. It's a cloud-based service, so it has its own viewer. So once you open up a browser, you can view your Revit files, AutoCAD files. It doesn't actually need like a highly powered machine, and that's the the beauty of it. You can actually work on any device. So any device that can connect to the web, you can view. And then the cost of ACC. So Nathaniel, I feel like you should reach out to us so we can give you a really good breakdown and also find what works best for you. But for the entire ACC, which is Autodesk Build, that you're looking at, I think, between 7,000, 8,000 a year, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, I have to get back to you on that one. Okay, next question you have here is, do we keep track of all changes within one drawing file? would I be able to track from version 0 of my drawing to the latest version? Yeah. So as long as your file is named the same, and this applies to any format, not just your DWGs, it can be Revit, it can be AutoCAD. As long as the naming is the same, it'll continue updating the revision. So you'll find your revision 1. So you wouldn't have a revision 0. It'll always be the first version. You'd only have like version 1. And then once you save, you get version 2, version 3. And those always remain there. And then if you want to go back to revert to an old version, you can, for instance, revert back to version 1 and you'll create a copy. So you don't lose any of that new data that you put in. So it's not a rollback. It's actually more of tracking the data. It's almost like a backup save file built within ACC. Okay, we've got a question from George here. How many projects can I involve in one license? Do I need to buy a license for every project? So again, George, I think you should get into contact with us. We can definitely talk to you more about what could work for you specifically. But you get your own individual license, and that license has, the way it works is that license has different kind of levels to it. So I know the lowest one is like 50 sheets, but really it's unlimited projects, it's unlimited file space. So you're not going to have a problem of running out or having too many projects. And again, from George, how do you know what workflow to follow? Is there a standard to follow? How do we use ACC build put into ISO? Okay, so this is a really good question, and you kind of want to work with a workflow that best fits you. And here at Modena, we actually help with those type of things. So we kind of try to develop a good workflow for you, give you some tips and tricks. And it's the same thing to kind of add in these naming conventions and these standards. The second part of the question, how do you use ACC build to fit into ISO? Okay, so according to ISO, the ISO standard, you just kind of adjust your naming convention, and this kind of runs throughout the project. So once you set these standards up, it'll continue this methodology of when you add new files, it'll try to sort them into new places. And yeah, George, I really feel like you should reach out and we can definitely look at what specifically you're trying to do. And we can definitely find a really good way of solving that problem. Okay, but I think it seems it's about that time to wrap up the webinar. Thank you guys for attending again. And I hope to see you guys on both. And please, again, feel free to reach out to us, email us, phone us. Ask your questions and let us answer. Let's see what we can actually do for you. Let's see how far we can take this to help streamline not just your AutoCAD, but your Revit, your structural, anything that you're involved in. But again, thank you guys, and I hope to see you guys again.